I never had a chance to become naive to my environment. At 5 years old, while others were playing house, learning to ride bikes, and reimagining the world around them, I was going through my first adoption process. I don't quite remember all the details. Luckily, I was shielded from my verity by my great-grandmother. Shirley Ann Hill was her name, and she had become my image of a strong woman and a loving mother, while working 2 jobs and raising a rather boisterous child. She made sure that I never felt at a shortage for love. Sure, the other kids had mom and dads, but I had her, and that was all the mother that I needed. This was the mindset I lived in for a while. That was until what I like to call my beastly years, or what some of you just might call middle school. Middle school was the first time that I had encountered the forced perception of what it actually meant to be adopted, dealing with family projects and what the kids in my school would call a reality. So, as you might have imagined, I started to slip. I started to slip mentally, spiritually, and academically. My life was becoming parallel to my mother's failing health, and I became angry at the situation I was in. And no, I wasn't mad at her for being terminally ill. No, I was mad at her because my best friend in the world was leaving me alone in the world again. May 14, 2011, my mother passed away. My memories of her will live on forever, but the insults, the disputes, and everything else bad still haunts me to this day. But my mother, being the amazing woman she is, made sure that I was surrounded by strong women that I would eventually call my family. The year is now 2015, and I am going through my second adoption process. Yes, at 15, I didn't quite remember the court cases, but the feeling of uncertainty and the feeling of anxiety was something that I had become way too familiar with. You see, I imagine court to be one of those dramatic type of things, you know, like Law and Order. Like Law and Order, where the scenes where the suspect admits what they did and the crowd erupts in chatter. Yeah, it was nothing like that. The cases were real, and the rulings had the chance to affect the course of my life forever. That day, I was in a daze. I hid my anxiety behind my counterfeit smile, an act that I had perfected over the years. So after my mom, my godmother, Deborah, was granted permission for guardianship, I tuned out long enough to hear her say the words that will haunt my life forever. The world doesn't owe you anything. And these words had an annoying way of keep repeating themselves over and over again until I finally came to the conclusion that I had to change myself. I did what any person would do when they've been hurt multiple times. I shielded myself. I shielded myself from the truth so that way I can shield myself from the hurt I felt. So when it was time and she offered me to move to Georgia, it was an opportunity that I was eagerly willing to take. I was tired of the environment I was living in and disappointed into the person that I had become. I saw Georgia as this way of creating my new reality by myself. And it didn't hurt that I would officially become a Georgia peach. But with all that being said, it was now my junior year in high school, and I had perfected my goal of convincing people that I was okay, convincing people that everything would be okay with me, and still becoming abused by my mental cycle. Yes, even at this time, I was still going through a lot, and yes, the smiles, the great memories, and the laughter helped, but I was still a victim. I was letting my adoption become my kryptonite. I was letting the surroundings around me tear me down. So, on the last day of high school, I had to have a serious talk with myself, a serious one, a vow really. I told myself that I had one of two options. Keep being a victim of my own mental abuse, or number two, get it together, face my insecurities head on, and make sure I move forward with my life. As you might have imagined, I chose option number two. Growing up, I always heard, don't let your past define you. But I'm here to tell you a little secret. Let it. Let it, because it wasn't until I faced these problems that I let go of the insecurities that I had let manifest in my past. Let it. Let it mold you into the person who you know you can be. Let it create your new future so it can never look like your past. Let it define you. And finally, let it have an opportunity to make your mind become like a 5-year-old's again, reimagining the world around you.